Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. Did VGK miss out by not signing Paul Stastny? More after this.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cordasco, Chris Gawlik in Las Vegas, and you could find us everywhere. Well, first on your podcast, wherever you find your podcast, and thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are at Locked On VGK on Twitter, and this will be our first full month on YouTube. At Locked On VGK, you could find us there as well. Please subscribe by all means as we're taking this to another level. Chris Gawlik. You could find us as well on Twitter at Tony Dasco, myself at TD Chris G. And Chris, let's start things off. I think, I really do believe that a lot of folks are listening to our show to make their hockey moves. A lot of these teams are. Are the Carolina Hurricanes still trolling VGK? Chris was just talking about signing former Golden Knight Paul Stastny just a couple of days ago. And lo and behold, the Carolina Hurricanes signed Stastny for a bargain basement price of only $1.5 million. I just really did believe and still believe that you're going to go Jordan Bennington on this topic today.
Do I look nervous? So I'm going to start this off. Scott Brunner jumped on my comments on our Locked On VGK accounts. The comment goes, people are really having nostalgia for Stastny. He was an average at best player who did not mesh at all with the lineup. Why would we bring him back? And that's fair. I mean, is he an exciting, type of player who's going to, put butts in the seats? Like, he's not that type. I'm looking at one more stat as I talk, folks, but he's just not simply that type of player. But in his 2 seasons with VGK, 50 games played, 13-29. 71 games played, 17-21. So you could slot him in. And last season he was 17 goals, or he had a real solid season last year.
21 goals last season.
21 and 24. 21 and 24.
45 points in 71 games.
Yeah,
last season for Winnipeg.
So Stastny, the beauty about him is he could sit anywhere in the lineup. If he had to play with line 1 in a spot, he could do it and contribute. Line 2 is a very comfortable spot for him. Line 3 is an even more comfortable spot for him. And folks, what if our opening day roster down the middle was Eichel, Stevenson, Carlson, Stastny? And then you're still not even mentioning Nick Hague, Brett Howden, other players, and Chandler Stevenson that can play down the middle. You can never be too deep down the middle, folks. You can never, ever be too deep down the middle. He can also kill penalties. Very good in the face-off circle. At least whenever I play NHL 22 with him on PlayStation, he's great in face-offs. He's wonderful on face-offs. And $1.5 million. Like, this is the part I just don't get. VGK does not have a lot of money to spend. We know this. They definitely have $1.5 million, plus enough to sign Nic Hague, and that even still gives us a couple $1 million wiggle room in the salary cap, which is a real strange place for us. So I guess my question would be, did VGK ever even kick the tires on Stastny? I have to think Stastny would have been happy to come back. He still lives here. We've talked about this. He was enjoyed and liked in this town. There's nothing polarizing about him. No one would not like to have him back outside of Scott Brunner on Facebook. Everyone else likes him. Everyone else liked him. We know he could do well. So I just wonder if there was ever a negotiation, if Stastny's team ever pitched a number to VGK, or the opposite, if VGK ever pitched a number to Stastny. And I can't imagine $1.5 million was too far to get this deal done.
Yeah, that's something that they definitely could have considered here. 12 out of 16 seasons, Stastny has scored 40 or more points. He's 36 years old. Okay. but he definitely could fill in some of those spots, as you said there, Chris. He's played in 1,072 career games, and they might be lacking some more veteran leadership. I would think, under Bruce Cassidy, that he might be a good fit.
It never hurts to have veteran leadership. And VGK is pretty solid in that category, but having someone like Stastny, who has not just himself, but his father and the family roots and everything, a very rich NHL history within the family. And let's talk about Nic Hague for a second. Nic Hague was what, 14 and or what was his stat line last year? 14 and he was like 30 something points, right? 30 something points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we just paid $3 million for that, folks. Now right. I get the ceiling for Nic Hague is certainly probably higher than Paul Stastny.
You can't lose on a 1-year contract at 1.5. You cannot lose there. That would be a very smart and prudent move for VGK.
I will take, here we go, folks. If anyone's watching this morning, this will get your comments going. I will take Paul Stastny to score more points than Nic Hague in the 2022-23 campaign.
And I might be with you. And, Carolina, again, I think one-ups the VGK, although obviously things sort of backfired with Max Pacioretty.
That's just bad luck. That's bad luck. But yeah, that's fair.
That's not even puck luck. That's just bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
The tweet, again, the team's tweet, your impact on the Canes will never be forgotten. Thank you. And they had a picture of future considerations, a graphic, and that was a good run. That's better than VGK's social media these days. And the thing that, is he taking shots at someone again with these comments? Okay, when Stastny is signed, he said he's excited about a chance to win. There's a good mix of younger players coming into their own, veterans, and a coach that understands how to win. And it almost mirrors the comments of what Max Pacioretty said when he signed. Are they taking shots at anyone by saying that?
I mean, maybe you could maybe say Pacioretty because Pacioretty seemed like the player who didn't completely gel as far as the team relationship goes. And that is not a knock at all on Pacioretty. That is not a knock. Pacioretty, we talked about this, is much more by the book, it seems like, and business first, which in Carolina, that's interesting because they do the storm surge after the game with the celebrations and stuff. And folks, if you got like 15 minutes one of these days, just Google storm surge Carolina Hurricanes, and there's like a montage type video, 18, 19, 22 minutes long. After every home game the Carolina Hurricanes win, they do some type of celebration. They start by lining up at across this or around the circle at center ice. They put their hands up and clap in unison with the crowd. But then they do something fun. It started, they would just skate up and back and hit the glass behind the goals. But then it morphed into, they would do funny things like the players would be bowling pins and someone would throw a bowling ball. Evander Holyfield actually came out in one of these games wearing his like big boxing gear and actually boxed with one of the players. And they did a duck hunt video. I mean, it's fun. It's enjoyable. And, I'm just trying to picture Pacioretty out there doing the thing with his hands up and all that. And, doing some goofy thing where they either dance or whatever. Like he's going to hate us. Yeah. That's not a shot at Pacioretty at all. Like, please don't think I'm down on Pacioretty, folks. He's just a much more business first type of player.
Yeah, he's a serious player. And we did hear those reports about him not liking all the pranks and goofing around the first season that he was here in Las Vegas. And, now he wants to be with more professional and
he's a jerk
and accountable players too. So it's pretty interesting there. What did you think? Did you think that Stastny perhaps could have been one of your answers for line 3 when you were assessing this?
Oh my goodness, Stastny on line 3 or 4 is gold in my opinion. That would put Carlson in a strange place, depending on what the move would have been with Stevenson. If they would have brought Stastny in, I think at least the opening day, opening week, opening month would have featured Stevenson up on the wing with Eichel and Stone. That's at least what everyone in the media keeps saying is going to happen. I still am not a fan of that. I think Nic Hague is a better fit. But if you're going to push Stevie to the wing because Stastny is your line 3 or line 4 center, that's a wonderful spot to be. Nic Hague might have been in an interesting spot too, but then he could play the wing somewhere on the top 9. I mean, I just think signing Stastny, especially at that number, but just having Stastny in the lineup and his versatility, opens up the versatility of Stevenson, of Nic Hague, of experimenting with lines and just giving you an additional chemical you can pour into the Bunsen burner to see what color it turns and which way it's going to go here. I think it's a miss, and I actually do like. I'll put this on our Twitter so we can catch it on our timeline about 8 months from now. Paul Stastny to get more points than Nic Hague in 22-23.
Yeah, I like that one. That's an interesting one. And make sure that you add a hook, okay, on the total.
What's that?
The hook on the total number.
Oh, there's
of
always
points.
the hook. Always
there's
the
always
yeah,
the hook.
I'm not paying ties. I'm either winning or losing. I'm not tying.
Right.
And I don't want that line at the sports book, everyone. That's the worst thing that can happen, folks. Super Bowl weekend or a big game, when a big game is a -3 or a -4 or a -7 and it ties. There is a line for days in the sports book to cash out, folks. So just buy the hook and don't get stuck in that line, whatever you do.
So now with Stastny gone, of course, Chris is left with watering his neighbor Stastny's lawn. And so he'll have to be attending to his lawn while he's gone. Do you think that Stastny, before we close the book on this segment, do you think that he wanted to be here? Or is that just the tax write-off house? Do you think that he wanted to play for VGK? Because all of these things, again, sort of in a way, I'm reading maybe too much between all the lines here, but again, a coach that understands how to win and younger players coming into their own, a good mix, the blend of veterans and younger players. I just feel like some players might be given a shot at VGK. Maybe he's upset that VGK did not sign him here locally.
So what I would say is this. Again, this is all a conspiracy theory, folks. I have nothing behind this beyond just whatever's happening in this lack of a brain up on top of my head here. I am assuming that there was never any negotiations with Stastny, first of all. My part two or end game with that statement is I still go back to the situation with Nic Hague right now. Why is Nic Hague taking, like, I get Shea Theodore with his RFA situation lasted a lot longer because Shea Theodore is a much more hybrid type of scoring defenseman. So finding a right number for him, I get that took some time. Nic Hague is a young, big, and powerful defenseman, but there's a lot of Nic Hagues in the league. I'm not saying our Nic Hague is not a good Nic Hague or anything like that. There's a lot of Nic Hagues in the league, though, to his credit, I guess, as well. Where I'm going with this is I still am guessing something weird and splashy is coming. I honestly think Nic Hague might be part of some type of trade bait. So there's going to be a sign and trade, which all of a sudden gives the whether it's a goalie, whether it's a scorer. I don't think it'll be a defenseman. I think VGK likes their situation in the back with their top 5 defensemen if Nic Hague goes, and then there are 2 or 3 players who are next in line, so to speak. So I'm guessing, folks, something is in the works involving Nic Hague being signed and traded. Chicago was mentioned. I don't know what we would get from Chicago outside of obviously if there was some crazy deal in the works with Patrick Kane where there would be a crazy 3-team deal because someone else would have to take on part of that, $10-ish million salary or whatever it is. But, am I saying the Hawks are trading for Patrick Kane right now? I think we can pump the brakes a little bit. But I think I think the Knights are looking to make some type of move involving Nic Hague, where we sign and trade or however that's going to work out. And you're going to see a higher price talent come in, whether that's a Varlamov goalie, whether it's something with Dallas and Ottinger possibly, or it is, a top 6 possible forward. But this has taken too long when camp, I think, opens in less than a month now.
Yeah, it would be great to steal Ottinger from Peter DeBoer. Now, that would be a lot of fun, but Hague probably going perhaps to Carolina in exchange for future considerations, of course. Coming up next are the Golden Knights, a playoff team. We'll talk more about that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. BetOnline.net is the fastest. It's the easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events right there on the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, of course, the National Hockey League, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action that's happening today everywhere in the sporting world. Bet online, where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cordasco, Chris Gawlik in Las Vegas. Chris, I stumbled on an article. NHL.com has some writers debating, and it really wasn't that great of a debate, but in any event, debating whether VGK is a playoff team. They said it was a big blow losing Robin Lehner. Was it? And when are they going to put his $6 million deal, whatever, over $5 million? When are they going to put this into the LTIR bucket?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, there's a reason as to why they do all the stuff with the LTIR, and I'm assuming there's daily penalties. I don't know how that works, but I just think back to for the last 3 years now, it seems like, where if the VGK played a game on a Sunday and the next game was on a Wednesday, you can rest assured Monday morning they call up 3 players from the Silver Knights. Wednesday morning, 2 of those 3 players get sent back down. And so there's all sorts of weird stuff with the LTIR that I don't get necessarily, and I'm not even going to try and go that deep into it. As far as other moves and, the playoff situation, that's certainly a very good and debatable topic right now. And there's certainly a lot of things that need to line up this year. It starts in net right now. Again, we're talking present. We're not talking about trades that might get made. We're talking about this VGK roster today and how can this VGK roster succeed in becoming a playoff team. We touched on this yesterday with our friends of the program up north, professional amateurs. They should be having that out later, but definitely, folks, give them some love on your podcast rotation if you get a second. But going back to the topic here, it starts in net with LT. There's no doubt it starts in net with LT. I think we said if he starts 60 games next season, I think that's a step in the right direction. The next thing is Jack Eichel. The Jack Eichel needs to become King Eichel, if you will, and basically take over this VGK team. And there's going to be games where him and LT simply have to put the team on their back and go. And VGK has never had that player in the top six, or in our top 6. James Neal, I would argue, in season 1 actually did that at times, just because his scoring touch in season 1 was absolutely phenomenal. And I really enjoyed watching. Like he's a boring player like Paul Stastny. And I don't mean that in a mean way. He's just not this crazy puck handler that dekes around and stuff like that. But he's sexier than Paul Stastny in the sense that he's going to get himself in a plus spot. He's going to get himself in the right spot on the ice to score goals.
Those are 2 players that know how to finish.
Exactly. No doubt about that. And a healthy James Neal would actually complement Jack Eichel really well. But, that's another story for another time, obviously. So King Eichel, we're going to call him King Eichel. We're going to borrow that from Lundqvist over for the Rangers, but King Henry. We're going to call him King Eichel, I think, here. And King Eichel needs to take over this team, put the team on his back. He needs to get that 90.5 points and hit the over. Needs to get in somewhere in the 90s for next season. 80s I'll accept, but I'll accept him in the 80s if someone like Nic Hague, really takes that next step forward, or Beswan, has a big rookie campaign and stuff like that. The defensemen, I'm not worried about. The one thing I'm not worried about in this team is the defense. As long as someone like Pietrangelo and Theodore can contribute on the power play, I'm not worried at all about our defensive ability. That's probably a better way to say that. The most sure thing this team has coming into season 6 is a good, solid top 6 defensive core, assuming Nic Hague is still with us, with 2 or 3 players that can contribute when players go down with injuries and stuff like that. I still say one of the biggest X factors is line 3. What is that line 3 going to be? Is it going to be anchored by a possible scorer like William Karlsson? I say possible, Tony, don't get all upset over there. Is it going to be anchored by a possible scorer and skill player like William Karlsson? Or is it going to be more of a grinder type line with Brett Howden back there? That's really what really needs to be identified early in the season. We talk about the identity of this team, right? That was a big thing that lacked under the entire DeBoer era. I really think line 3, not line 4, but line 3 needs their separate identity within the team's identity. And if we could have the same 3 or 4 players rotating in line 3 for the better portion of 60 to 70 games, I think that will bode for the success of the season 6 VGK.
So again, a lot does revolve around goaltending, and that is a big question mark. In no particular order, they need another experienced goaltender, in my estimation.
That's
They
fair.
need a scorer, in your estimation.
Yep.
And they also need an enforcer in the worst way. And again, Cassidy played in a very rugged division in the East with Boston. And that's just a more physical game that he played. I don't know how that's going to translate with a lot of finesse players here that you have on the West Coast with the VGK. So I'm really curious about that. And when you talk about goaltending, so you set the total number of starts with Logan Thompson, I think at 64 and a half.
Yeah, that was the ballpark. We'll call it
Okay.
63 and a half. 63.
Okay,
I need
63 and
to
a
walk
half.
it back a little bit.
Okay, so last season, Thompson played 45 games, 26 with the Silver Knights, 19 with the Golden Knights. Can he go an additional 20 games? And again, just on the NHL level. I just have a lot of questions. I know he's good. I know he's improved. I know that he worked under the tutelage of Marc-Andre Fleury, and he has a lot of Fleury in him, in his game. Very acrobatic in his saves, and he's a solid goaltender, no doubt about it. Just wondering if he's ready to take that next step.
Of course. And I hope so. I think so. I think he has, starting with the swagger, starting with the confidence, starting with the cockiness. And that's not a bad thing, folks. Goalies are wired differently than any other human athlete out there. Goalies and starting pitchers in baseball have a lot of commonalities. Like starting pitchers in baseball, like there's rumors they don't even want to talk to anybody during the day before the day of their start. They get in this weird funk and stuff like that. And if you disturb that routine, watch it. It's like stepping on a hornet's nest type of thing. And goalies are the same way. I mean, that cockiness, that inexperience, and that swagger, I really think can be used as a positive for Logan Thompson. Right now, the city loves Logan Thompson. They absolutely love and adore him. And it's because he's played very well. It's because he smiles on the ice. That's not a shot at Robin Leonard, folks. Don't get at me for that. It's just because of the way he portrays himself and the way he goes about business. Max Pacioretty has his way of going about business in a more serious way, but he produces. Logan Thompson keeps it light on the ice. I think that's how he keeps himself relaxed. And that can, I think, really help him go a long way. On social media, when things are going well, Logan Thompson likes to playfully tweet and stuff like that. And even when, amateur podcasters like myself mention he should possibly be looked at to be traded to, return other assets because of his value, he comes at me with a funny donkey meme. It's awesome. I love it. I absolutely think it's super cool. And that was a lot of fun when he did that. But if in those first 15, 16 games, we have turbulent waters, if things don't go well, if his save percentage is 0.897 and he's 7-9, with a 2.87 goals against average or a 3.1 goals against average, how's he going to respond when the city, I'm not going to say turns on him because that's not the right way, but when all of a sudden the mean tweets start coming in, when all of a sudden everyone says, wow, I guess we really miss Leonard more than we thought, stuff like that, or the Fleury talk starts, never should have traded Fleury and all of that. Like, how is a young Logan Thompson going to react to that type of pressure? Can he handle it? I think he can. I think he will. And I think his play on the ice will speak for itself and keep him in that good place. But LT's on house money, folks. I mean, not just long ago, he's, in juniors and in something HL when you don't even know what the first letter is. And then he works his way up as a less than notable AHL player. And then all of a sudden he does amazing things in the AHL. He wins whatever the equivalent of their Vezina trophy is. And then he has an awesome, what was he? Was he 11-4 down the stretch or something like that with us? 10-4 and something with good measurables. So there's a lot to like about LT. And yeah, the importance of LT as we're, rambling a little bit here is, can't be said enough.
So concerns, concern number one, Bruce Cassidy. concern number 2, Bruce Cassidy. Like, I'm very much concerned about how those personalities mesh, knowing already the track record of Bruce Cassidy and that he's very, very tough on the younger players. There's no doubt about that. And at times he's going to have to lay off of his young goaltender in Logan Thompson. Cassidy had mentioned in that story in the Boston Globe that we talked about on Monday about how they need to check more frequently, which I found rather interesting. Went back and started to dissect a lot
Who's
more.
Who's going to check, though?
Well, yeah, that the players have to check a lot more for a young goaltender. What he's saying is they really need, and again, there's a lack of a physical presence with this team. We know that. That's one of their major weaknesses, right? They need to clear the crease out for Logan Thompson. And a lot of the times when he got in trouble last season, there's just, a lot of guys right next to the blue paint. They're right there on the doorstep, and that's how he got beat. And that's one thing they really need to change. And then another note that I had was that the players really responded when Thompson was in net a lot more, and they rallied around him a lot more than with Robin Lehner. So maybe Lehner, his act, so to speak, got old with the players. That was my feeling, my impression, because they stepped it up and they played like with a lot more intensity and purpose, I think, when Logan Thompson was in net. Those are just some of my impressions.
And DeBoer himself stated that. DeBoer himself did state in a not so roundabout manner that LT did give the team a spark at times. There is certainly no doubt about that. And again, look, I'm going to tread carefully with Lehner. I think he just has a way of going about his business. And he was playing with I think a myriad of injuries last year that definitely made it tough for him to do his job duties at the level that he has done them at before. And again, LT, he smiles. He's upbeat and positive. He's smiling out there. And just starting from the pregame warmups, like I'll go back to at the Orleans before they moved over to the Dollar Loan Center. Me and my kids were sitting right on the glass for warmups, but right on the curve, right next to the bench. And LT's over there just kind of doing his thing. He's talking to, not sure if it's the trainer or equipment person who he was shooting the breeze with for a second while the players were getting ready to start the next drill. And all of a sudden I see water squirting like through the glass. And there's Logan Thompson, like literally squirting water at my kids. And he did it like 2 or 3 different times. And he's smiling, he's interacting. And now, to be fair, I've also seen Robin Lehner do that same exact thing in warmups, interacting and stuff like that. But it's just a different mindset. It's just a different mindset. You alluded on the physicality and clearing out the crease. Kenneth Sinman points this out a lot, and he's definitely right whenever he does point this out. How many times have we seen the opposing team score a goal because there was a player, like they'll give you the overhead camera from the rafters that points straight down on the crease, and that shows like probably like a 4 to 6 foot circumference right around the crease, and there's not a single player in there for the VGK outside of the goalie. And that's something where Nic Hague needs to do his job, and also the goalie needs to protect their space too. That's another thing. If someone is infringing on that blue paint, slap shot, give him a little something, let him know you're there. And you can do that only so much, but if there's a player constantly in your grill, so to speak, a little hockey term, if someone's in your grill the entire time, the goalie needs to fight harder for that. I remember Malcolm Subban when he was a VGK, that was something that was pointed out a lot by our television team, where Subban would be screened, right? He'd be screened, but you have to fight through a screen. You can't just accept the fact that you're screened and hope the puck gets you. If you're screened, you got to move the player in front of you, or B, pardon me, folks, or B, you need to change your angle and do what you got to do. Otherwise, if you can't see the puck, it's going to be very hard to stop it. And Logan Thompson did make one of his quotes last season down the stretch, when things were going well: if I can see it, I can save it. And that's a fair statement for any NHL goalie. I mean, really, there's not a lot of NHL goalies you're going to, even with a 100-mile-an-hour slap shot from the point, if they can see it, they're going to get that thing in their glove, or it's going to hit their body. So, yeah, LT. Let's see what happens. And I think he's going to do great, though. I really think he's going to do great. I do.
Okay, if LT has any flurry in him, he will take that goalie stick and he'll whack an opposing player right in the back of their legs, because that's what Fleury would do, no doubt, to clear them out. And, just I was looking at the number of games, Chris, too, that Laurent Brossoit played last season. He only appeared in 24 games and had just 21 starts. And does he need a much larger sample size to see if he is, a legitimate guy that can help this franchise out this upcoming season?
Does he need more starts? I think I'm just looking up his hockey DB right now, folks, as I chat here. I think when he plays more is when he gets himself into trouble. That's not a knock on him. He's a lifetime backup goalie. He is a lifetime backup goalie. He's been in the league now since 14-15, and he had 31. That's AHL. So as far as NHL starts in a single season, Oilers 14, 17, 18, Winnipeg 21, 19 in 2018, 2019 starting seasons respectively. 24 NHL starts, folks. That was the most starts he's ever had at the NHL level in a single season, and that was with the VGK last year. 2.9 goals against. He could not crack a 90 save percentage, though, and that's certainly an issue. His best NHL season. Let's find his best NHL season. So Winnipeg, 21 games played, 18-19. I don't even care about his wins losses. Save percentage is .925. Goals against 2.5, and that's 21 starts. So
I'm gonna set the over under on number of goaltenders that will actually play. We'll see action for VGK at 3.5.
Over.
Yeah.
Snap over.
Okay. What about 4.5?
Snap over.
Can we go 4.5? Do I hear 4.5?
4 is probably okay. Let's pencil a few right now. Let's pencil a few right now here before we talk about Jack Eichel's bust.
Jack Eichel is not a bust.
His bust, not
he
not
is
he's
a bust.
His bust.
He really literally is a bust.
So is Bruce Cassidy then. I see where you're going with this. I got you. I'm on the same page. So LT Hutchinson, definitely gotta have Hutchinson.
Your guy Hutch.
Brossoit, no doubt, and Patera. I'll take those 4. Okay, here you go.
And
Tony.
Varlamov.
Varlamov. I raise you. I'll say all 4 of those goalies play within games 1 through 25.
Interesting. Yeah, that could be a turnstile there.
Brossoit, I get an asterisk because if he does have a long-term injury, then I can replace Brossoit with Brossoit or anybody.
And thanks again. A shout out to our good friends at Professional Amateurs our good friends up in Canada. We were on their podcast yesterday. Had a little bit of a ruckus there. I kept cutting you off like I normally do, but on someone else's podcast. Coming up next is Buffalo now trolling VGK's Jack Eichel. This is the troll edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cordasco and Chris Gawlik in Las Vegas. Ever since Jack Eichel left Buffalo, I'll tell you what, their media folks especially and their fans are having a field day with every move that Eichel makes. The latest, the Buffalo News making fun of the Golden Knights statue, the one that VGK is handing out during the preseason games. Especially, they are pointing to the fact that the bust of Jack Eichel on October the 4th, that giveaway does not look like Jack Eichel.
Whatever. I mean, listen, folks, people like collectibles, people enjoy it, and save it for the kids. I mean, if the adults don't want to participate and take shots, let the kids enjoy it. We got a bunch of stuff on our kids' mantles upstairs. I obviously got some stuff around me here. I got some VGK stuff behind the camera as well that my customers, if you will, can see when I'm doing my sports card business and things like that. Do the busts look exactly like the players? No, whatever. I mean, it's still fun though, folks, and it's something that people are going to enjoy. And are they necessarily trolling Jack Eichel's bust? As where does it say? Says where does that sounds coming out of my mouth? But they're trolling Jack Eichel, and anything the Buffalo fanfare, media, you name it, amateur podcast, anyone that can get a shot to take it Eichel, they're going to take it, folks, and that's fine. VGK has never had that polarizing player that was maybe a little bit of turmoil while they're with the team and then they're gone. The closest subject VGK has to that is the Vadim Shipachyov, right? Our season 1 KHL transplant, if you will, does not end up making the team out of training camp. He himself thought he was going to be an NHL starter. There was an article about how he hated living at Red Rock for a while and walking through the smoky casino, and didn't necessarily, him and Patch Reddy probably have a lot of commonalities about their time here in Vegas, to be honest. But point being, had Shipachyov gone somewhere else in the NHL and then came back, he would have heard the boo birds. Not like Jack Eichel is going to get in Buffalo necessarily, but he left the team in some not so great circumstances. Retired. We drove him to retire from the NHL. Like, he is our first VGK alum, folks. So if you're in a bar having a few, you want to win a bet, everyone's going to tell you Derek Engelland is the first player to retire a VGK, and that's false. So take a 20, make some money at the bar next time you're out of PTs or something like that. But yeah, people are going to take shots at Jack Eichel every chance they can, and fine. He's brought a lot of that out himself, but in Vegas, I don't think he's that type of player for now, and I think he's going to continue showing us that.
Yeah, well, Eichel also did have a say on his return to Buffalo, where he said, "They wish I was still here." He also said, "It's the loudest I've ever heard this place," because they were booing him.
That's a great troll. That is such a good troll, Tony. That's quality right there. And of course, Alex Tuck gets 2 goals against us that game just to rub it in a little more, but whatever.
Yeah, no, but Eichel, when do things simmer down, and when is this something
Never.
In the past, or
never?
It's
not with Buffalo.
Become a good rival. Could become a good rival. With Buffalo, you don't get to play them often. Obviously, I know one of the fans, their comment was, "How did you guys make 4 statues that don't look like the people you made the statues for?" Is this something that's cheesy? They're little statuettes, and I was more upset with where they placed those little statues. Like,
yes, that was quality, Tony. That was actually really good. That your Boise reference there last week. That was good. From Monday, maybe. No, it was about the Friday. You threw the clipboard.
That's coming. I was a little fired up. That is coming up again. We are on the heels of our next What the Friday. I know you have a lot of pent up frustration, and I can't wait to hear some of your takes, and the fans as well. Chime in at Locked On VGK on Twitter, because that's a lot of fun. Something, maybe a blunder, whatever. I mean, VGK leaves the door wide open where we can take shots. There's so many. That crease is wide open for us.
Yeah, no one's protecting it, Tony. No one's protecting it.
So are you going to go to these preseason games and get these busts? I just, how big are these statues? That's a big question to me. Like, are they real small, tiny?
Probably as big as my microphone. As big as my microphone.
Wow, that's a pretty good size.
I mean, we'll be at. I'm not going to change my habits to go to the games. If they're on the weekends and the schedule allows for the kids, I'll go. Will I go out of my own personal way if my family can't go to one of these preseason games? Maybe. I doubt it. We'll see.
Is that a good giveaway or a bad one? Now,
it's fine.
I think, are there going to be a couple more that they're going to be releasing?
I don't know.
Because I think we have like.
I feel like Carlson should be a statue. He gets a statue every time they
can. I don't know if they could. That's additional cost for the flow. I mean, you have to add. There's a lot more money. They're pricier to add all that hair. The worst one I've seen, though, by far, I think is it's not Eichel. It's the Riley Smith one. It looks like he should be doing a milk commercial with the milk mustache. Something. But yeah, so tomorrow's show, rather Friday show, because we're on just 3 days a week here, we will be talking about What the Friday. That's always a lot of fun. For my man Chris Gawlik, I'm Tony Cordasco. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. We'll see you once again on Friday right here on Locked On Golden Knights.